The Mayo Experience.
That Mayo Experience. That Mayo Experience. That Mayo Experience. Experience.
Welcome to the Pat Mayo Experience, the American Express DraftKings picks and preview. If you out there want to get into a draw for $20 DraftKings dollars, here's what you do. You smash the like button for the episode, leave your DraftKings handle in the comment section, and tell me your two favorite plays from the $6,000 range on DraftKings this week. If you want to get into a draw for $100 DraftKings dollars, I have another way to do that. Subscribe to the Pat Mayo Experience audio podcast. Leave a 5-star review, DraftKings handle, something you like about this show. You'll be in the draw for $100 DraftKings dollars. Winners announced on Monday's show. And of course, you want to become a member at Fantasy National. Good week for the members at fantasynational.com. But if you use fantasynational.com/PME, you get yourself 20% off. Why wouldn't you do that? You're watching this show already. I mean, you can just use it to make better picks than I have, and boom, you're on your way to financial glory. Ben Rasa from Awesemo.com is joining me on the line right now. But Ben, do you know what I forgot to do on Monday's show?
What did you forget to do?
Well, I announced like people who won, but I actually didn't announce the winners of the draws. So I should probably do that, I feel, since we're now on Tuesday's show.
Yeah, I think that would probably be a good mulligan to pull right about now.
So, listen, I gave out an extra $100 winner because I forgot to do it on Monday. So these accounts are already credited. So if you're just sitting there with like extra $100, here's why. The winners of the $100 giveaway, Ty Ann 2514 and Tubus2, the winners. Good for you. 20 DK bucks, MAGA Rome, Fight Ford DC, D Rex the T Rex, Spiza and M Garb 19. You all won 20 DK bucks or 100 DK bucks. Congratulations. Let's jump into this week. I feel like you had a good Sony Open. I saw you at the top of some of these contests.
It was all right. I used my one time, so I'm out of it for the year on Harry Higgs. He ungodly eagle. That really helped me. The guy who killed me was Noren. I really needed him to make some putts. He could not putt last week, but I had enough Cam Smith. That was a pretty solid week. Not perfect, but certainly could have been worse.
Yeah, I really trashed Cam Smith on last week's show. Fortunately, Ulrich was on, who was all about Cam Smith. So if you listen to Jeff for Cam Smith and basically me on every other player, you were doing pretty good. But I made a critical mistake not listening to Mr. Ulrich because I had Mr. Noren in my best lineup. And if I had just put in Cam Smith instead of Noren for $200 less, I would have come third in the $5.
Oh, third in the $5. Yeah, that would have been a nice chunk of change. Yeah, it was. Listen, I mean, these weeks with the weather and the wind, it was so atypical. I did run. I really can't complain. Not only did I run pretty pure with Harry Higgs, I had a sizable Decky over Morikawa bet.
Oh my gosh.
Was just as pure as it gets. So I'm feeling pretty good with the run good early in the season.
Well, let's jump into the American Express, formerly the Desert Classic, formerly the Career Builder, formerly the Clinton Foundation Humana, and then it was the Bob Hope before that. However, there are 3 courses in play this week. The cut will not happen until after the third round. So everyone gets a shot at La Quinta, the easiest course on tour. Everyone gets a shot at the Nicholas course, the second easiest course on tour. And then the Stadium course, the Pete Dye design, is where everyone who makes the cut after 54 holes will play the final round. So if you're good, you're going to play this course twice. It's a Pete Dye design. It's not one of the 2 easiest courses on tour. It's like the 10th easiest course on tour. But yeah, do you like this tournament? Because I feel like no one does.
No, not a fan at all. Is it just called the American Express?
Yeah.
It's not what. Yeah. So I don't like this even worse than last year. Not a fan of this at all. It's tough. We don't have shot tracker for 2 of the courses. That's really annoying.
Or cameras.
Or cameras. When guys are on 59 watch and they got to run over there with a camera. It's not a good tournament, but we'll do what and there's celebrities, right?
Well, it's a pro-am. I don't know if celebrities are showing up.
Okay, so this isn't the Larry the Cable Guy. That's Pebble, right?
Yeah, this is like,
okay.
I don't know. I might be in this tournament for all.
Well, that's so pseudo celebrities. That counts. It's tough. Guys are on different courses. I will say quickly, we don't really get into Showdown. If you are playing Showdown, I think it's pretty pertinent to stack guys at La Quinta. I think that's a pretty easy starting point.
Well, it's funny you said that because I wrote about this in my column on DKPlaybook.com. The main reason to stack at La Quinta, I mean, if everyone's doing it, you're not going to know that maybe target Nicholas potentially. But the big key to stacking at La Quinta is there are back-to-back par fives on the front nine, just making birdie streaks super easy.
Yeah, exactly. And I haven't looked at it too in depth, but I'm pretty sure one of the holes surrounding them is also, it's not a par five. It's not like they have three, but it's pretty easy. And you can make streaks and rack up a lot of points in a hurry.
Yeah, on both sides of it. So the 18th most difficult hole and the 17th most difficult hole are back to back. So that's good news. And then like the 13th most difficult and the 10th most difficult. So they all four of them play inside the 9 easiest holes on the course and they go back to back to back. Like 4 birdie streaks, if that was a thing, would be very much in play.
There you go. Enough said, and that's one way to exploit it because not everyone will do that.
No, I'll probably end up playing. I can't remember what I ended up reserving because if I reserve my contest before I go to Vegas, I can still play those contests in Vegas, right?
I believe so. When I've been in Nevada, been in Vegas, I've been able to edit. Yes.
Can I just reserve a spot then put in the lineup, or do I have to put in the lineups first?
I think you have to put in a dummy lineup at best, and then you can edit. I'm not sure if you can just like reserve and then build.
That's something I need to get on top of. Then I need to put in my lineups before and then figure it out.
You got to get on it.
But what I did last week, and this actually worked out quite well, except for stupid Justin Thomas, is that I dedicated 20 of my lineups to the guys that I like I normally do, and I dedicated 5 and 5 to playing the weather stacks. I went AM, PM, and then PM, AM. I had no idea which side was going to be easier, but it felt like with that much wind, that much weather, that there could be an opening. It was very clear, like once you went back and looked at it, that the PM, AM stack was like 3 strokes easier than the AM, PM. So I think this week that I'll probably reserve 3, 3, and 3 lineups in stack courses.
Absolutely. And I think that's something that's kind of missed by people. You're not saying that which I do that all the time where I stack tee times. I have no idea where it's going to be, but if there is an edge, you probably have a piece of it, especially, of course, if you're stacking, a handful on each course, and it can be the difference. So I like that idea. I'll definitely be doing that as well.
I did that last year at Pebble Beach, and it throws players into your player pool that you weren't necessarily going to use in the first place. But I ended up on a lot of Phil and Casey teams because of it. Wow. And that won me my week. Like I ended up like 5xing my money at Pebble Beach because I had like 3 lineups that were just the nuts. I mean, not the nuts because I didn't end up winning, but I finished highly in a lot of these tournaments, and I had no idea that was going to be the easier wave, but I wanted to make sure that I had exposure that if it was, then I was going to hit it.
I mean, tournaments like this, the lack of win equity, we'll get into, Ricky leading the charge. You can get some guys in your player pool that are pretty egregious and be just fine. It is wide open out there.
And if you want to take the egregious route, is that everyone gets 3 rounds. So even if you take someone from like the bare minimum, as long as they're birdie makers, like they could potentially outscore someone who plays all the rounds.
Yeah. And the last round, I mean, you're still going to pick up some points, but it is on the quote unquote hardest of the 3. So you're not missing out that much. Of course, for a big tournament, you need 6 of 6, but you're right. It can make a difference, and you will see some 5 of 6s hang around that much more.
Well, let's jump into it. You mentioned the lack of win equity at the top. This is something Feinberg and I actually discussed on the betting show, but Ricky Fowler is the most expensive player in the field. He's $11,500, but at least Ricky wins. Check out these guys right after him. Sung J M, $11,000, Casey, $10,700, Finau, $10,500, and $10,300, and Charles Howell III, $10,100. Like, they basically told tournament organizers, like, we got Ricky Fowler. Can you find the 5 guys who definitely aren't winning tournaments and put them in, and we'll make them the highest price guys?
It's not great. I mean, of those guys, I guess Paul Casey is the trophy getter of them 5 by default. It's pretty ugly. I mean, they're all phenomenal plays. I get it. Sanjay's playing out of his mind, but to me, it's going to start out with ownership. I'll get right to it. If Ricky, I think most people are going to want to build balanced. If Ricky is left alone, I have no problem rostering him. We know he can go low. He does win more than people give him credit for, in my mind, and I don't mind starting there. But then if you don't do that, it is wide open to build a very balanced lineup.
I think that you could definitely do a Sung J Casey lineup pretty easily, although it's super expensive this week. There are guys at the bottom I think are pretty good, and you get those 3 rounds. Then you need a bit of luck that they make it to the final day. But objectively, I like Im the best. After that, I like Casey the best. If we were to throw price out of it or ownership out of it, those would be my two guys. But I'm kind of with you on Ricky. It doesn't feel like people are going to go after him, but his short-term stats as it pertains to this course aren't very good because in his past 24 rounds of measured events, he hasn't been very good outside of the TOC, but long-term, he rates out perfectly for this setup.
That's what I'm saying. And he has minimal course history. I think these things will, make his ownership not what it would be if he had played recently in this tournament. And that's a situation I'll probably try to exploit. I think I'm with you. Sanjay probably makes sense next. The guy I have trouble with, and I always do, is Tony Finau. I don't know what to make of him here. I mean, he's going to win eventually, but I don't know if this is the spot. I don't know what to do with him at that price tag.
Pass is probably the best idea.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Let's get rid of him. I mean,
we have to make decisions from the top. If we just talked about the three most expensive guys and we like those guys, and to mix them in and out, that you probably can't like the next three. I bet Benny Ann sets up really well for me too, but I'd rather play Im than Ann, even if it does cost me 700 more.
Yeah, I think I lean there too. Benny Ann is a guy I always, this course, it's interesting because so there's so many par fives. But to me, they're almost like second shots. Not that they're not gettable, but you don't see a ton of eagles when I was looking at it. And a guy like Benyan, he's so crafty around the greens. Of course, we know the putter comes and goes, and that's being generous. But I do like his skill set for how he can attack these courses.
So I did find in my research, shout out fantasynational.com, and where there's only shot link at the stadium course, this only pertains to the stadium course, but whatever. Proximity 75 to 100 yards. Each of the past three winners have finished top 10 at the stadium course in that stat. So that's something I'm heavily weighting inside my modeling this week. That 75 to 100, 100 to 125, because you hit on it. And it's the same thing that I found. There's a lot of really short par fours, and the par fives really aren't gettable at 2. You're going to see a lot of wonky 86-yard shots this week.
Yeah, and that's an awkward distance, and there are certain guys that can excel at that. So I will look to some of those types. Benyan, I think, when it's scrambling more than short wedges for him, actually. But that is something to keep in mind. It's not just, then again, Rahm won here. So it's a unique course and a unique setup where I think a lot of different skill sets can get it done. But more often than not, I will lean to some of those short iron wedge type guys.
Yeah, it's funny. Even though Rahm won that year, he actually finished 8th in that category in the field that year. So that was interesting. I'm looking at very early ownership projections, and this could be way off, but everyone is gravitating towards Im and Casey. I currently have Ricky Fowler at 7% ownership. Now, this is a Tuesday morning. We have 2 more days to go. And if the narrative becomes, hey, no one's using Ricky, everyone use Ricky, people don't really need an excuse to use Ricky Fowler. They like using Ricky Fowler. Same as Tony Finau, that it might level out, but it feels like Sungjae is going to be the guy everyone goes to.
Oh, I agree with that. I think Sanjay will be popular in cash, massively owned in tournaments. So we'll have to wait and see. I'm going to certainly have my fair share of Ricky, and I'll take that stab and build. There's so many ways to go about it. And as you mentioned, in a field like this, and we'll get there, of course, there's a lot of cheapies that you can make cases for. So you could even try to pair up a couple of these guys and really jam at the bottom.
The most common build, especially in cash games, at least in my mind, just from initial glance, being like, oh, this makes sense to me. Im and Howell together.
Yeah, I think Im and Howell, maybe Scheffler.
I think Scheffler is overpriced in this field. I think people might go away from him. I'm not sure because people also like to play him, but 9,500 is a lot, especially when you consider. Let's jump into the nines. Francesco Molinari is in the low $9,000 area. He is, in my mind, probably the best player in this field.
Oh. No respect. What about Ricky?
Molinari in the past 2 years has won 4 tournaments and a major.
I didn't know he played in the last 2 years, to be honest. He did all that. That was a while ago.
He won API last year. He was winning the Masters until the 12th hole this year.
Yeah, no. I mean, I'll say this. You are right about this. Molinari sets up, in theory, great for this. Now, the putter is always a little come and go with him. Again, that's being generous, but I do worry he's one of the guys, and maybe he's played in Europe. I don't know. But, okay. So he hasn't played in a very long time. That is a little concerned. A lot of these guys did get to shake off the rust, whether it was in Hawaii or at the President's Cup, he hasn't done any of that. And that's something I may be a little concerned at. I also really like Matthew Wolff, and he's only a couple $100 cheaper.
That's my other guy, $9,000. When we talk about short proximity players, he's one of the one that rates out amazingly from 100 yards and in.
Well, that's even better. I didn't know that. He gains off the tee automatically. He makes birdies almost automatically, it feels like. So you know he's going to score. And the rest of his game, I think, can really take apart an easy course. He's the kind of guy I'm going to want to target him at Birdie Fest, which this is going to be. So I've redeemed myself after the Molinari slander, so this is good.
I think the Molinari slander actually makes a lot of legitimate sense. Like, the only reason that I think that he's a play for me is that if you just took this tournament out of the middle of January and placed it at the beginning of May, Molinari would likely be the highest priced player in this field.
I get where you're coming from with that, and to further that point, he's not going to be massive chalk in my mind at this discounted price, so it's not even that issue to deal with. But man, he is truly a guy who has not been on my mind at all, and months have gone by. So we'll see how he comes out, but a lot of options right around him.
Well, he was last year. This was a problem for him too, because he took a bunch of time off, came back and played the Tournament of Champions. Then we didn't see him again until WGC Mexico. He was a legit disaster at the Tournament of Champions last year. He was almost dead last, but then he showed up to Mexico. He was T17, shows up to Bay Hill and wins. So I think it's tough for him to flip the switch because he hasn't played since the DB World Championship at the end of the European Tour season. He's been kind of crappy since the Masters last year, really. It looks like it got into his head a little bit, but it seems like such a discount on such talent. Like, I like you can mention Horschel or Scheffler or Cameron Champ. They're all right around there. And Kokrak, it's his first time playing this year, but he's been really good at this tournament over the years. But it's a shorter course, which should really play to the skill set of Francesco Molinari, that we've seen him get like fire on Bermuda greens before as well, that I find him hard to pass up. And if he's not going to be chalky, like you said, I don't need him everywhere, but if I play him in 5 of 20 lineups, I feel like that's a chance I have to take.
Yeah, if you can get leverage, with a clip like that where you're going 25%, I get it. I guess for me, I'm just probably going to roll those shares to Wolff. Maybe up to Scheffler. Answer. I think if I want to get over, you're going to need him coming off the President's Cup. That's another guy to consider.
Kisner at 9-9 as well. He's never really played well at this tournament. He led the Sony tee to green last week. As someone who bet him outright and had him on every DraftKings lineup, DraftKings was fine. He came T4. Bet him to win. That's a bit of a problem when you miss every 10-foot putt. But if he just gets back to like career rate putting, like, he's dialed in right now.
He really is. Yeah, he did not putt at all. He gained over 5 strokes with the approach. I wish it was bent grass. That's splitting hairs. I don't think it's a huge deal, but that is his preferred surface. But this is a guy who can putt. I think there's no doubt about that. So little premium price tag, but not going to garner a ton of ownership, and he's striking it great.
I think you could make the case that if you did want to do that balance build that you talked about, and I do think because of the lack of win equity at the top based on these players in a normal tournament, that if you wanted to start your team with Kisner, you had like Kisner, Molinari, Wolff, like that's a fine build to start. Oh
yeah, that's definitely something I'm going to be exploring. I don't know if it'll be those 3 per se, but you can load up and you're not even, if you do that, you're still going to have plenty of salary as we work down. And even if you go lower to start, you can build really good 4 or 5 man lineups, and then you have a couple guys to close it out.
Any interest in Billy Horschel?
No, I just, what can I say? Talk about making putts. Guy just every so often does it, but I'm going to pass. There's just too many guys up top. I can't get to him.
Molinari, 3 career starts at this course, 10th, 12th, and 62nd. That was 2015, 16, and 17, and realistically, he should be a better player today than he was then. Horschel hasn't played since he missed the cut in 2016, but had 2 top 10s before that in the previous 4 years, so it's not like he is devoid of experience here. 8K range, it kicks off with your boy, Mexican Allen Iverson, Abraham Ansa. He's $8,900. The Todd father, former winner of this event, $8,800. Phil, who was second last year. Harmon, who shockingly rates out second in my modeling over the past 36 rounds. Poston, Noren, Moore, Lucas Glover, Russell Knox, and Chez Reavie is the entire $8,000 range. I don't know if you've seen anything I've released so far this week, Mr. Rasa, but Russell Knox is my pick to win this tournament. He's my one and done. I think he rates out perfectly, and he played sneaky good at Sony. I just need him to start hitting some fucking fairways.
So Knox is a guy that I totally get how you arrive there. The irons are just on fire. Hit some fairways, make some putts, guy. I was on him last week and he was good, but he just couldn't get it all to materialize. He's going to be popular at this price tag, but he makes sense on really across the board. So I have no problem with him. I'm going to go back to Noren. I mean, the ball striking was there. He gained 7.5 strokes tee to green, lost almost 4 putting. I don't really envision him at a birdie fest. That's my one concern. But everything else, I think, is a pretty good setup for a guy that no one's really paying attention to.
I think I like Noren better next week at the Farmers than I do here. I think you hit on it. He's too good to say he can't go win a birdie fest when I'll point to someone like Sam Ryder. He has a lot of experience in Corn Ferry events at these birdie fests, so it's an advantage for him and not a player who's like 8 times as good, but I prefer him at tougher tracks.
So do I. The problem is, just speaking specifically, he should have won Farmers, and then he's going to get all sorts of bumps from that course history. So it's like a weird sandwich spot I think I can buy early.
So for me, I was on Noren last week too, and he was fine. He just couldn't make a putt, like you said. Knox, number 1 for me in the 8Ks. I think Todd's number 2.
Oh, really? I thought you were going to say Harmon.
Yeah. Todd father, my man.
All right. So it's not over. The run is not... It's just starting again.
He didn't play all that poorly last week. And like just looking at the early ownerships, he is the lowest owned player of the $8,000 range.
You're going to see that time and time again, just because naturally his price got inflated from that ridiculous heater. And now no one really knows where he is. So he's such a tough guy to project because there's so much quote unquote bad data. If you think, he's turned a corner and depending on what you're running. So I get it. I think for me, I'd probably stick with Harmon. I played him a bunch last week, and although it wasn't exactly what I was looking for, he was solid enough. I'm going to probably just continue to buy with him.
I used JT Post in the last 2 weeks. Obviously, he missed the cut last week at the Sony. He was pretty good at the Tournament of Champions. Doesn't he seem like a guy who could do well here? He's really good with his wedges, and he makes a ton of putts. Like, eventually, he's like not as good as Denny McCarthy on the greens, but way better with the irons.
Nobody in the world is as good as Denny McCarthy on the greens, but that's neither here nor there. He just needs to hit these irons a little better. I'm a big JT Poston guy. I played him when it was unpopular. Now everyone does it. No respect, but he can certainly putt. I don't mind it. I do have him behind Harmon and Noren, so we'll see how much I can get to him. And then there's guys like Moore and Glover where they're interesting. I just don't know if they're on my priority list.
I would prefer Glover to Moore, I think. I don't know if I'll get to either two of them. The big conundrum here, and I know people are going to use him, is Phil. Like, he seems like an auto fade for sure, but he just has vibes at this tournament, man.
Oh, Phil. Yeah, I mean, the problem I have is like, I feel like I could get there if I knew I could get leverage with a small percentage, but people are going to play him. And then it's like, man, am I really going to try to allocate, a decent clip to get over? I'm not sure I can do that. Stick to his social media game is fire. Just keep on that. I don't want to be dealing with him in these tournaments.
I do think that Phil has stuff left in the tank, even at this elevated age. Best shape of his life, by the way, and we can see that from these Instagram photos. But yeah. I think that the rigors of the season take a toll on him, and we saw him really break down as the season went along last year. I think if you're going to catch him, it's got to be in the first 2 months.
I don't disagree with that. I just don't know if it's right off the bat either. Certainly the grind is not going to be good for him, and I do think there's some wear and tear as the season will go on. I'm probably going to pick my spots. I just don't think this will be one of them.
So Knox, Todd, Poston would be my 3 in that order. The one guy we didn't talk about in the 9K range, I have him projected 2% right now, Cameron Champ.
Oh, yeah, I was wondering if we were going to have to mention him. He, listen, we talked about stacking courses, you can also stack, as I always say, stack a skill set. Like if you want to use him and Wolf off the tee, just domination and work down from there. I don't hate the idea. The rest of his game is poor, and I rarely, if ever, get to him.
He is a lightning in a bottle putter too. Like if he's making everything.
I mean, where was that? Wherever he won the first time was just like ungodly putting.
Yeah, at Sanderson Farms, he gained 9.1 strokes putting.
Like, well, yeah, that's disturbing on multiple levels.
7K range. This is where it starts to get a bit interesting, because if you do these balanced builds, this is where you're going to end up. So Harris English, I think, is going to be the highest owned guy. I think 7,700. Hasn't missed a cut here since before 2011. So he's 7 for 7. It's like Howell. Howell's played this tournament every year and makes the cut every single time. I don't think he's missed in like 2 decades. But English, he doesn't even have status on tour. He's played really well at this tournament in the past. I think I'd rather go 1 up to Putnam, or I hate to say this, $100 down and play Denny McCarthy.
Oh, the putting god. I mean, listen, Denny McCarthy, we've talked before on the show. I've never seen a guy consistently gain like this on the greens. It's unbelievable. So if you want to do that, I don't hate it.
Do we just treat it as the reverse Ben An? If we're just like, hey, if Ben An can ever just gain a stroke putting for an entire week, he's going to come inside the top 3. Well, if Denny McCarthy ends up gaining a stroke on approach throughout the course of the week, he's going to come inside the top 5.
Yes, it's just, as we all know, on a macro level, it's much easier to have an outlier putting performance than an outlier iron performance. It's not to say it can't happen, though. And this guy is this good in the short game where if he just can gain strokes off the tee and on the approach, he's going to be in contention. There's no doubt in my mind.
Kevin Na coming off the WD.
I was about to say, he's back in business?
It looks like it. I read earlier this morning that he had withdrawn, but now I saw that he's back in the field. I'll go check on what the latest on Kevin Na is, but it's always risky when you play Kevin Na because God knows what's going to happen. Like, he could pull out 2 seconds before the tournament. But, man, this is wedge fest that takes a good putter. He's played really well at this tournament in the past. Like, I don't think anyone's going to use him.
No, not at all. I mean, in a large MME portfolio, I think taking some Na is an interesting move. Putnam, I don't really have a strong take either way. I don't think I'll really get to him. I'll tell you what, I know.
Say Steele.
No, I'm not going to say. I didn't watch a ton of the golf because I was focused on just destroying things in the NFL. What a mess that was for me. But that shot on 18 was not so good. I did catch the end of the golf, and man, Steele really gave it away.
Do we load up one thing I did wait when I was doing out my rankings was birdies are better gained on the field. So you have like Munoz is 5th in that, Wise is 3rd in that. Now they've been playing against weaker fields, so they should be piling up birdies because Wise hasn't been playing well, but Munoz has. Then you got someone like Danny Lee. What do you do with Danny Lee? Okay,
well, we got to go to Wise because I was trying to work in. You know me, I absolutely love him this week. Danny Lee, what do we do with him? I think just roll those shares to Aaron Wise in my mind. I think this is a great spot for him coming off multiple missed cuts. He wasn't that bad last week. He missed on the number. This is I bet Wise to win. I like him a lot this week.
Wise. Yeah, he gained 2-point strokes on approach in his 2 rounds last week. Just looking at the guys around him, I actually don't hate Steele all that much. Like, maybe it's just so devastating that he can't recover from the playoff loss, but he was striking the ball really well. He's played really well at this tournament in the past. Very good from inside of 100 yards. That's sort of his bread and butter, along with the ball striking. And I think they didn't use him last week, and I don't think there's any rush to go out and use him this time around.
No, I don't think so either. And the price is more than reasonable. What about Berger at the same price? That's my big issue because he was good. He just couldn't putt last week.
Man, Daniel Berger. I don't know what to do with him.
Yeah, I mean, I do some real shady business over here, but 5.3 tee to green, lost 2.5 putting. I don't think this is a great setup, but I don't think it's a terrible setup either. I mean, I prefer him at more traditional par 70 tracks, no doubt, but he can excel here. He's not in the Aaron Wise mortal lock play of the week, but he's still decent.
If I'm going to play anyone in this range, I bet him at 100 to 1 at $7,100, 3rd in the statistical modeling. Actually played in the Aussie PGA, so it's not like he's been completely off and performed really well there. Cameron Tringali. This course is a birdie maker's dream, and Mr. Tringali is a birdie maker.
He is a birdie maker, can confirm. The stats look great. Even on my screen, what I have up, he does check out. I thought you were going to say Norlander.
Norlander's, he also rates out really well for me. It's just
Yeah.
every time I've used him in history, he's missed the cut.
Yeah, that's not what you're looking for. And then, do you have any interest in the defending champ, Adam Long? No one's really talking about him.
I thought I did, and then I started digging in just a little bit, and I don't love it. The guy can't putt except for at this course last year, apparently.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have a great gauge or pulse on Adam Long, just in general. I barely knew who he was when he won. So.
I didn't know who he was when he won.
Yeah, that was.
And I do this professionally, like cover golf.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of creative players. There are guys that I see on Saturday in these tournaments where I'm just like, where did this guy come from? I legit didn't know he was in the field. So that's oh man, there's some guys at the bottom, but I don't think I'm going to get there either. I looked at him. I looked at Dahman really closely. I don't know if I'll get there. Just too many other guys, Wise in particular. You mentioned Munoz, Tringali that I like better.
So for me, as it pertains to Norlander, although he rates out really well, he is a kind of stat modeling favorite always, and he's usually $1,000 cheaper than this. And he's coming off back-to-back top 10s. I think he's going to be highly owned. I
think so too, and that is a red flag. And listen, I could do a whole show on this aspect where there are certain guys that jump off the page stat-wise, and then there's guys, in my opinion, I mean, it's a perfect segue for me. Lucas Bjerregaard never jumps off the page because his stats are, a lot of it's in Europe. We don't have it. That guy can get dangerously hot. I know it's been a while. He peaked when he beat Tiger, the match play, but I have some interest in him as a pure flyer sub 7K.
Did you know that was his last top 10 worldwide?
No, I probably, if I would have known that, I wouldn't have said that. Yeah, that was a while ago, was it not? That was
in March.
Yeah, that's been a while, but
and I only know this because we went through it on the betting show because I had interest in him, so did Feinberg, because we know him to be like a scorching birdie maker. Like that's his MO, but he's been playing like the Portugal Masters and missing the cut. Like he's been bad.
Meh. Well, Harry Higgs is right there if you need just a true baller, but I do think it is pertinent, though, to build some teams with just pure upside in mind like that. And Bjerregaard fits those type of things because if he gets lightning in a bottle, there are a few guys in this field that I would rather have when he's dialed in.
Two guys from down here as well. One, I mean, Nick Taylor's kind of interesting, but Streelman sticks out to me, although it's his first appearance this year. The Gooch, always hot with the irons, and Ryan Armour, who get him in a short track where he just hits wedges all the time. Pray that he can make a putt, and he's good.
Yeah, Ryan Armour is a guy that I think is cash viable. Not a ton of variance in his game. He just does what he does. I want to say Kyle Stanley, but I'm not gonna. Don't really like it, to be honest. And then as we work down, you mentioned Streelman. Yeah, we haven't seen him. That's a little concerning. But let me just ask you this before I say anything, because I've been getting a little crazy here. Do you have any interest in Russell Henley?
I thought you were going to say, do you have any interest in Woo Kim?
No.
Doesn't this seem like a Siwoo Kim type? Hey, go hit some wedges, Siwoo, and make every putt. We've seen him do that.
So what I don't understand about Siwoo is the boom bust has really gone away. He's just been like middling bad lately.
He's been bad, yeah.
Yeah. That's not what I signed up for. Like I wanted withdraw or third, and now I'm just getting like miscut or 54th. So that's not my jam.
I have no real interest in Henley whatsoever.
Okay. That's probably even where I am. He's someone that rates out well with certain things, the wedges in particular, Bermuda putting. But the game is just in shambles, and that slightly concerning, to put it lightly.
I think if you're going to go down here, you just take your shots. I mean, Bill Haas is $6,700. Your boy, Bill Haas Open.
Yeah, Bill Haas, he's won this.
Yeah, he has. So is Mike Weir.
Wow. It's good company then.
So guys that just make birdies in bunches. Bronson Burgoon, $6,800. And two of my favorite I think my single favorite play on the board per dollar is Sam Ryder at $6,500.
Okay. So that's going to be the guy, if you mentioned at the top, you pair up like Casey and him. Sam Ryder attached to those type of lineups?
He just needs to make a few putts. Now, the problem is, now that I've said that how much I love him, and I don't know why people tail me, but they do. But
They do.
now he's going to be highly owned. I'm still going to use him anyway, but generally speaking, chalky 6K guys just fade them.
Yeah, I mean, oh yeah, that's an absolute macro rule, no doubt about that. But you have the right idea. I think I'm total agreement. You want, when you're going down here, pure scoring. Because again, even if the guy gets cut, not that that's what you're going for, you can make up with streaks and bonuses. I looked at Bo Hostler pretty closely. He's another guy who can get crazy out with the putter. I wish this was in Texas. I wish this was bent grass. But I do think that's the mentality of the golfer I want down here, which is just a pure scorer.
Your boy, Mav McNeely, is sixth in birdies or better gained in this field over the past 36 rounds.
Yeah, that's right. Because it's all coming together. It was the long con with me and Mav. So I like it. Listen, he gains off the tee. The irons are not great, but he can get hot with the putter. He can score, and he's starting to make some cuts. I do have a true creative player down here if we're talking about like pure 1% plays.
Okay, can I try to guess who it is?
Sure, but I didn't even know this guy existed until last week, and now I'm all about him.
Is it Charlie Ryder?
No, okay. I didn't know that guy existed until you just said that.
Okay.
Who is that?
I believe he was the USC guy. I think I have this right. He's the USC guy who's just in the middle of transferring to San Diego State, but he's played this event the past 2 years, and he set the course record at one of the courses last year. He just crushes it off the tee.
I truly don't. I joke about that, but no, that's not someone I know.
Yeah. Okay, so Charlie Ryder is one of them that I was going to say.
Okay.
Other one, who are the other two like randos here? The guy who's super Anderkers, Ashke Bhatia, who
isn't that the kid? He's like, like 18.
He's 17, yeah, and he's Anderkers, so watch out for him. The other
my
one
guy is in. Go ahead.
Isaiah Saladina.
No. These people are like, those guys are all actually made up. This guy is in the most elite company ever. He is priced with the following people. He's priced with Chesson Hadley, Ben Martin, Grayson Lahiri. Think about how good of a company that is at 6,300.
That's pretty good. I'm not going to lie to you.
David Hearn too. And the answer to this is a guy named Chase Seifert. And now I've ended the show, apparently.
I was going to say, I mean, he has, let's see, RSM, tons of strokes gained, ball striking last week, 2 off the tee, 1.5 on approach, came 38th. He's been making cuts.
He's been making cuts. He popped, not that I did not have this, but at Travelers a couple years ago, he went nuclear in the short game.
Yeah, that's right. That was last year, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was, and he gained a ton there, came in 9th. And now he's starting to get the ball striking. I know historically he's been a great putter. If the two things could mesh, it's the type of guy that I'm really looking for. He has made 4 straight cuts, and he has a top 10 to his name at Travelers.
Like, do we really want to play him over like Grayson Murray, though?
I mean, Grayson, I don't know what to do with him. Grayson is a guy that I've always tried to play. His stats are blacklisted right now. He's just unplayable in my mind with how he's sitting the irons.
Who's the guy that put the live bet on last week at like 100-1? Oh, Michael Gellerman. He was striking it real well until he wasn't.
Who was that?
Yeah, I thought it was Spieth's caddy for a while, but apparently it's not.
That's a different human, but you could have sold me on it. I saw his name up on Friday, and then I didn't see it. And I'm not going to look to get too crazy down here, as I recommend Chase Seifert, but it's more about if you're pairing up top, how low do you need to go? If you go balanced, there's no need to dip below 6,500.
Or there's probably not even if you go balanced, you probably don't need, just end your teams with the Tringali.
Absolutely. That's what I'm saying. The low 7s have everything you need. There's plenty of ways to get leverage on the field, but I'm with you. I feel very comfortable. Usually I don't advocate for this. I see plenty of names in the bottom tier that I will roster this week.
Well, I got one at $6,200. You ready?
Wes Roach.
TPJ. Ted Potta Jr.
Oh, God.
What do you need here? Birdies. What does he love? Birdies.
He was damn good last week. Putted, irons, off the tee is a virtual mortal Wesley Bryant lock to lose strokes. But other than that, I mean, I get it. It's Robbie Shelton is there. Doug Gim, honestly, there are some names that do garner a little interest. You just have to dig in, and you don't want to play too many of them.
No, I think you want to pick your 3 and try not to have them in too many lineups and then move on your way.
Absolutely. Yeah, the number one, that is great advice, because if you start spraying down low, you'll get some guys through the cut, but you're really not. You want to hone in, take a couple of them, and use them when needed.
Yeah, like if you use 4 guys from below $7,000 and you play 20 lineups, the perfect allocation of those guys is probably 8 lineups between, like, just 2 lineups with each of them.
Yeah, absolutely. And then if one of them goes off, you're in a unique build and probably leveraged really nice. And if they get cut, you have some other bullets. You don't want to go crazy unless you have a line on one of these guys, but I certainly do not.
I think now that I'm looking at it, if Im's going to be as popular as I think he's going to be, I might just use Fowler instead.
Yeah, I mean, listen, ownership will dictate that. If I'm getting a third, a fourth of the ownership, I will be using Ricky, but we'll see how that unfolds. I mean, I think Sanjay, rightfully so, is going to be maybe the most popular guy on the slate.
Would you cross off any of the lesser players that haven't played yet in 2020?
From up top or just in life?
From the bottom. Like, just like the rando guys, like someone like Maverick McNeely, who has not played in 2020 and hasn't played since like the RSM last November, I won't say professionally, but like in a competitive professional event on the PGA Tour. Like, that worries me when we're talking about our lesser class of players. Like, if it worries us about Molinari, it should worry us about these like crappier guys.
So I totally agree with that, but I'll say this, the window for them to still get there is bigger. And to me, it hurts maybe the top win equity over making the cut. So actually, like for me, I'm more concerned about Molinari than Maverick, someone like Maverick, just because if he comes in 35th, I'll live to fight another day. But if I'm allocating $9K for that, it could be problematic.
Cam Davis, back-to-back top 10s, T23 here last year.
As you'll know, the computer, which is obviously smarter than me from the show, had him on our little draft.
I think he picked him. I think he picked Cam Davis in the 2nd round.
Yeah, it knew. The Aussies finally found it, I guess.
Well, it's a trade-off for Ulrich because he bet Cam Smith to win last week, so he won a 55-1 wager. But the computer passed him in our money list tournament.
Oh boy, yeah, it's a tough scene. But I really shouldn't talk because my team doesn't even play. I have all these injured guys, so we'll have to see what I can muster up if Day ever gets back on the course.
Is he still injured, or is he just not playing right now? Like he never plays with the Farmers anyway.
No, I hope he's just resting at the Disney World, wherever he is. But we'll find out soon enough, I guess, because, yeah, we don't usually see him here anyway.
All right, I think that'll do it. Pat Mayo Experience, the American Express, DraftKings picks. Ben Rasa, any final thoughts on the tournament?
No, listen, you have 3 courses. You have a rotational. Try to pick a couple stands, make some stands, rotate, correlate, do the best you can, and just make sure that you leverage it properly, because this is an easy week to fall into some easy traps.
All right, that'll do it for me, Pat Mayo. You can follow me on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at the PME. If you want a membership at fantasynational.com, which I recommend you do, because you definitely want it. fantasynational.com/PME. Get yourself 20% off. Sounds pretty good to me. Also pretty good if you want to get into a draw for 100 DraftKings dollars. Subscribe, rate, and review 5 stars. The Pat Mayo Experience audio podcast. Leave your DraftKings handle and something you enjoy about this show in the review. If you want to get into a draw for 20 DK dollars, smash the like button for the episode, leave your DraftKings handle in the comment section, and do whatever it is that I said that you're supposed to do at the beginning of the show, which I don't remember right now. Also, if you want to play the Pat Mayo Experience Open, the link is in the description of this podcast and video. Highly recommend you do that, all right? I'm Pat Mayo. Good luck this week. I'll see you next time.
Pat Mayo Experience! Experience!